Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you are all having a wonderful day. This here is my first tutorial in the C Programming with Windows API series. These lessons will include tutorials for people of all levels, starting from beginner all the way to expert. Regardless of your current expertise, I will be covering all categories of programming with the C language, as well as different aspects of the Windows API framework. Okay, so without further ado, let's get on with the first tutorial in the series. In this tutorial, we are covering how to get you set up with Visual Studio. Visual Studio is categorized as an IDE, an acronym for Integrated Development Environment. Basically, it is a bundle of tools provided by Microsoft which allows developers or programmers to create applications in one contained environment. This software bundle, and yes, I am referring to Visual Studios, comes with a compiler, an interpreter, and a source editor. A source editor is the main focus point of the Visual Studio application. It is the text editor which allows you to easily manage and control all of the code which you will see throughout these tutorials. Up next, we have the interpreter, also known as a parser, and this is a tool which reads the text in a set of files and distinguishes its syntax. Syntax is a certain predefined keyword respective to the language that you are programming in. Then, it ensures that for every piece of syntax, a certain condition is met. If the condition is satisfied, then the result is passed to the compiler. So lastly, there's the compiler, which is a tool that accepts the passed data from the interpreter and translates each piece of syntax into machine code. It then structures the machine code into separate sections in something called a PE, an acronym for Portable Executable File. Such files include EXEs, executable files, or DLLs, non-executable files, which stand for Dynamically Linked Library. And this is mostly used as an archive which contains routines or functions used in exe files. I'm sure you've seen these different kinds of file types all around your system before. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the details of the inner workings of a compiler or an interpreter, I will demonstrate it later on in the series. So, now that you know about an IDE, compiler, interpreter, or parser, and source editor, we can move on to the process of installing Visual Studio onto your computer. The first thing that you want to do is open up your default browser. For me, it'd be Google Chrome. Next, navigate to google.com and type in Visual Studio 2015 Enterprise Edition Download. And click the link that says Download Microsoft Visual Studio Enterprise 2015 from the official site. And then navigate to that page. Once you're on that page, scroll down and select your language of choice. For me, it would be English, and click Download. Select the download that says vsenterprise.exe 2.9 megabytes. Checkbox, and click Next. Now we see down here in our downloads bar vsenterprise.exe. Open it and click Run. After doing so, wait for the installer to initialize. After the installer has initialized, you can close your browser. Now we'll wait for Microsoft Visual Studio to grab packages from the internet for the installation. So we're going to click Continue and set the installation path where you will be installing Visual Studios. The default path is okay. Make sure you have 10 gigabytes of space across all drives, and then click Custom, followed by Next. So for this installation, we're going to want to make sure that Visual Studio 2015 Update 3 is checked. Drop down the tab that says Programming Language and check the box with Visual C++. And after that, you want to click Next. So if you're sure about everything that it says here, which it's going to install, simply click Install and click Yes. After installing, you may be asked to restart your computer. If that happens, simply restart, open it back up, and then in your taskbar or your program files folder where you've installed Visual Studios, you will see the exe file to open up Visual Studio. So I've already had it installed, and this is actually a virtual machine which I'm using just for the demonstration. So after installing Visual Studio, open it up, and you'll be greeted with this nice landing page per se. And once you open it up, it'll ask you for the theme which you'd like to use for the Visual Studio installation. So there's 3 different kinds of default themes. There's light, dark, and blue. For me, as you can see on the screen, I'm using the dark theme. Personally, it all depends on your preference. It doesn't even matter. And regardless of what you choose, you can also change it after opening up the program in Tools from the top, Options, and in the General tab, there's a drop-down box which allows you to change the color theme. You can select the theme that you want to change it to and hit OK, and Visual Studio will change that to that theme. I will change back to dark. And so right now you have Visual Studio set up on your computer, and that actually wraps up for the first tutorial. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up.